Okay, I'm back. Thank you for your patience. Facebook Live is a whole nother thing, folks. It's a whole other thing. So we have to find a way to make it work. There's one of you here. Jenny's here. 5 of you. See? Okay, we're catching up. We're getting it together. Thank you for your patience. Somebody want to throw me a comment just to see if I can see it this way? Because otherwise I can't talk to you at all, which is no fun. Okay, I'm seeing names. This is improvement. Yes, comments, people. 20 of you are back. We're making progress, folks. Thank you for your patience and flexibility. Hi, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Just waiting a few more minutes for some more folks to join us. Welcome to Tea with Tina. I did not make tea today. I just didn't really want tea today. I also didn't want more coffee, which is surprising and impressive. So I'm just drinking fruity bubbly water, like the basic white woman that I am. This is up for contested debate. I'm actually a Spindrift person. I'm not a LaCroix person. I'm like mad at LaCroix, but Spindrift will always be my choice because there's like real fruit in there. Like real little blackberry juice hanging out in this little can right here. I think it is a far superior product to the LaCroix. Bubbly, I also think is better than LaCroix. So I don't know if these are popular opinions or unpopular opinions, but I know we all have strong opinions about our bubbly water of choice. So that's just Spindrift is mine. Thank you, Barb. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Hi, friends. Welcome. Like I said, there's no tea today. I mean, there's plenty of tea, but there's no tea. I'm actually drinking out of a mug because I just didn't want it today. Just didn't crave it, so didn't have it. But I'm really grateful that you're here for Spindrift and Tina. This feels almost the same thing, just minus the alliteration. Welcome to Tuesday. It feels like it's simultaneously been just like a day since I was here last, and like it's been a decade since I was here last. It's insanity. Our world is changing literally by the minute, and it's overwhelming and confusing and hard. And that might even be more true this Tuesday than it was last Tuesday, believe it or not. So the fact that you are here to spend some time building some sisterhood, hanging out with each other, brings me great joy. So I'm really grateful that you're here. I've been okay. This is madness. So I'm doing as okay as one could be expected. I can't watch too much of the news. This is what I'm learning about myself. Someone on Instagram posted something about how there's a line between being informed and being overloaded. And I need to do a better job this week of staying on the informed line. Because watching too much of the news has been my challenge. But it is important to pay attention. I just can't pay too much attention, otherwise it gets overwhelming to me. But otherwise, things are really good over here. I really like my husband, so that makes being here with him delightful. And we're just trying to get outside and walk every day. That has been our saving grace the last couple of days. We just move our bodies outside, respectfully keeping our distance from other humans for like 45 minutes a day, almost an hour a day, and it's been glorious. So if you're looking for a way to feel a little bit better, that is my recommendation to you, because it has been game-changing for us. So enough about me. Let's talk about us as women in the world. I asked Alpha Gam to share a couple topic options for you all to choose from. And the popular choice, not by much, which is exciting to me, but between the two options, the one that you all chose to talk about today was over apologizing, which is like a thing that we do. We just apologize a lot. Sorry has become this word that we use often. Some studies say as much as 10 to 20 times a day. Some studies say that women apologize closer to 30 or 40 times a day, depending. Both vocally and written, we apologize all of the time. And I think this can get problematic for several reasons, but one of the reasons that I think that this is problematic is because apologies matter. I want you to think about a time where somebody wronged you, somebody hurt you, And then they took responsibility and apologized. They told you straight up, I'm sorry that I did that. I feel badly and I'm really sorry. And how that felt to hear. When somebody apologizes to us with sincerity, with heart and with kindness and honesty, I think it feels really healing. I think it facilitates forgiveness. I think it matters. I think it matters a lot. Real apologies make us feel like somebody sees and hears and cares about us. Which is why we can't just like throw the word around all the time. we need to stop using that word like it's a filler word. It's not it's not an Apologies have weight. And when we apologize all of the time, it takes the weight away from the ones that need to matter the most. The ones that change the way people feel. And we do apologize all of the time. We say sorry in the bathroom, in the hallway, on a call, on the street, when we're busy, when we're asking a question, when we're articulating a thought, a clarification, in emails, in text messages, in talking to strangers, in talking to our partners, in talking to our family. We say the word I'm sorry all of the time. I know that I do it. I do it all of the time. Just a couple weeks ago, my husband James was in here and he was looking for his wallet and he couldn't find it. And I saw him like searching through all the stuff, and I asked him what he was looking for. He told me he lost his wallet, and I was like, oh my God, I'm sorry. I don't remember the last time I saw it. And he paused and looked at me and said, did you just apologize for me losing my wallet? Yep, sure did. And I was really apologizing because I couldn't be helpful, but it's also not my fault and not my problem. I just apologize for somebody else's issue. So just do that. Every time I cook a meal and I put it down in front of my friend or my partner or whoever I'm cooking for, and I'm like, sorry, I'm not sure if it's as good as I wanted it to be. I mean, I just cooked you a meal and put it in front of you and you didn't have to do anything, but I'm really sorry about that. One of my schedule's crazy, because my schedule is crazy. I apologize a lot for my schedule, my busyness. Being like, oh, I'm so sorry I can't come hang out. My flight got canceled. Like I had any control over that. What I'm really sorry for is having to bail on you, but those were all circumstances outside of my control. And for years, I used to get on stage and apologize to people for the way that I talk. I was told that I was a little too masculine because all my friends were guys. And so I was taught to get on stage and say, I live with men, all my friends are men, so I talk like a dude. I'm really sorry about that, but I hope you can listen to me anyway. Women want to be accepted. Humans want to be accepted. Humans want to be cared about. Humans want to be loved. And so a lot of times the apologies that we offer are to try to make ourselves a little bit more palatable for the world. I don't want to just cancel on you, so I'm going to apologize for canceling on you because that makes it feel like it's nicer. I don't want to just offer my opinion. I'm going to apologize for offering my opinion so you know that I'm not trying to be aggressive. I don't want to just say no. I'm going to apologize for saying no so that you know that I know that I'm being nice about it. We try to soften ourselves, make ourselves a little bit smaller, make ourselves a little bit more palatable for other humans. And I know that I'm not the only one who does this. So let's get a little interactive over here, Facebook Live. I would like you to type into the chat feature and tell me about some of the unnecessary apology that you have offered the world. What is something silly, funny, heavy, serious? What is something that you have apologized for that now looking back, you're like, well, that probably wasn't an apology that I needed to give. What are some of the ridiculous apologies? Where do we apologize too much? I want you to chat here and tell me where are some of the overused apologies in our lives. What do you got, friends? Oh, you're all saying hi to each other. I love that. Alexis wrote, I apologize today because I was telling people to stay home. So Lisa said, I'm Southern and Jewish, so I've lost count. That's hilarious and well done. Samantha said, sorry, I'm late. Rephrase that. Yes, we say I'm sorry, I'm late all of the time. Hi, Lindsay, you're welcome. What else are you apologizing for? Working retail, I'm sorry to the person who came in to complain that Target was closed. Right, like you're sorry because that person has a problem that is not at all your fault or in your control. When you have a question, yes, we do this literally all the time in class. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have a question that I'm sure 10 other people have and they need you to ask. Yes. Sorry, I don't know the answer. Sorry, when I walked past someone in the grocery store, overfilled my husband's plate with food last night and apologized. Always the dog. Apologizing to the dog or for the dog? Clarifying question. Both are totally understandable. Apologize for everything? Yes. I'm sorry for talking so much. Carly! We say that all the time. Sorry I missed your call, but I was busy, right? Like I was on another call, or I was in a movie, or I was... Sorry for saying sorry. Annie! Oh, so sorry. This is my Midwestern. Oh, so sorry. Can I sneak past you for the ranch? That's so very much a thing. I asked some of my friends this question the other day and had them send me some responses. And one of my favorite humans told me that she was sitting in an airport and she like put her sandwich down on the tray right in front of her, and the piece of paper that her sandwich was on like lifted up 1 inch, and she turned to the person next to her and said, "Oh, sorry." Like a piece of paper moved and an apology was granted. We do this a lot. Yes, my dogs are making noise. I'm working from home. I have a child or children who are all making noise. I'm working from home. I'm so sorry. Yes. Someone asks you for a favor and you can't do it. Yes. I'm so stressed right now. I'm so exhausted right now. I'm so overwhelmed right now. Yeah. I apologized to a man yesterday because his car door was open and I couldn't get to my car. Y'all, thank you for playing. I appreciate you so much. This is a thing. It is a thing all of us do. And it's a thing. I don't know where we were taught to do it. I don't know how we were taught to do it, but I'm not on a mission to eliminate apologizing. Apologies are important. When you wrong somebody, I want you to apologize to them. When you hurt somebody, I want you to apologize to them. When you genuinely create an inconvenience for other people and it is your fault, I want you to apologize to them. But I don't want you to apologize all the time. And I don't want you to apologize for existing. I don't want you to apologize for going through life. I don't want you to apologize for being a human. I don't want you to apologize for having a voice and using it. I want us to find the balance between apologies that are worthy and apologies that are a little needless. And here's why. This is not just some like mission in my life just because I like to mess things up. Over apologizing impacts our brain. It impacts our psychology and the way that we see ourselves in the world. There's 3 different side effects that happen in our brain and in the brains of the people around us when we over apologize. The first thing that happens is that it genuinely lowers your self-esteem. Studies show that when you apologize for things that you don't actually need to apologize for, you start to think less of yourself. You are apologizing to other people for existing, being you, being a normal person in the world. And then it starts to make you think that you should apologize. It starts to make you feel badly about yourself. It starts to make us feel like we are an inconvenience. So it lowers our self-esteem, which is obviously problematic. It also, number 2, gets us to a place where we start to question ourselves. If I was going to apologize for it, then maybe I shouldn't do it at all, right? Like that question thing, somebody posted they apologize before they ask a question. We get to a place where we're like, maybe I shouldn't ask that question. Maybe it's a stupid question. Probably shouldn't. And then if we decide to ask the question, we still apologize for it. Maybe I shouldn't tell this person what I actually think, right? Maybe I should be better about that. Maybe I should not. Maybe my opinion's not important. You start to question your own self, because if it's something worth apologizing for, then is it something worth saying at all? Maybe not. And then the last thing, this isn't necessarily what happens to our brain, but it does happen to the brains of the humans around us. It starts to make other people question you. If before you speak, you apologize for it, then it makes other people think that what you're saying is worthy of an apology, that it's not good enough, not strong enough, not smart enough, unworthy. It makes other people start to question our power, our control, our comfort, our confidence, our worthiness, which then leads to more lowered self-esteem and more questioning of ourselves. And it's this endless cycle. It really does have an impact on us. So I think it's worthy use of our time to identify things that should be apologized for and things that shouldn't. What are some things in our world that are worthy of apologize? And what are some things in our world that aren't worthy of apologizing? So let's start with the worthy list. In the chat feature for me, do this. I want you to put some things that are worthy of apologies. What are some things that you should apologize for? Where are sorries appropriate? I want you to think about at home. I want you to think about at work. I want you to think about in your friendships, relationships, acquaintances, at the grocery store, all the things. Where are apologies important? Hurting someone. And this is interesting because sometimes we hurt people on accident, right? Like sometimes like you say something that you didn't intend to be hurtful, but does hurt somebody's feelings. So certainly apologizing when you intentionally say something hurtful. But even if you cause accidental hurt, I still think that's a worthy place to offer an I'm sorry. When you do not follow through on a commitment that you make, that's real. If you said you'd have it done by this time and you didn't, then that's an apology worth granting. That's real. Hurt someone's feelings, being a jerk to someone, when you actually have done something wrong, when what you said was wrong or incorrect. Yep, I see that. I totally feel that. I've been doing this thing lately where people ask questions that I don't know the answer to, and I try to answer them anyway. Why? So then I have to apologize for saying something that wasn't helpful and it wasn't right. So yes, I think that's valid. I think that's meaningful. When you cause someone pain or an inconvenience, yeah. When it causes problems for other people, when you do something that causes problems, even though maybe it wasn't intentional. Missing a deadline because of something like you didn't write it down, it slipped your mind, you forgot. When you run into someone on accident. Yeah, I think if you bump into somebody, I think both people should be saying I'm sorry, right? Both people are apart. But like if you like run your cart over my foot at the store and you don't say sorry, then like, well, yeah, no, you're just being a dick. It's just not kind. Yes, 100% that makes sense to me. Oh, Jenny says when I'm hangry and short at somebody because I'm hangry. I feel that on a soul level. Carly says setting expectations for someone without informing them of those expectations. That's real. Like if I really want my partner to do the dishes, but I don't actually tell him I want him to do the dishes, and then the dishes don't get done, and then I'm really mad about it. Probably should have said that out loud, so that's valid. Yeah, I love this, y'all. This is a great list. I think there's a fine line between taking responsibility and feeling like you have to be like a martyr, feeling like you have to take responsibility, say I'm sorry. But the more you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm such a piece of crap. I can't believe I didn't do that. I'm so sorry. I'm such a failure. Then we're over apologizing even when we owe people apologies. So there are some places where an I'm sorry is appropriate, but we don't have to fall on the sword completely, or you don't have to take full responsibility for things that aren't fully your responsibility. Take responsibility for the things that are important. Apologize when necessary. And you're the only one that can really make that call. I am not here to tell you when you should or should not apologize. I'm here to tell you that you should follow your gut, because most importantly, I want you to check in with yourself and be like, do I owe somebody an apology? You know what? Yeah, I did say I would get this to them. I didn't get it to them. I can say I'm sorry for this and know it and mean it. I just want you to check in with yourself. And if it feels like an appropriate place to apologize, get it, sis. I am not here to be the commander of all apologies. I just want us to question it so that we stop apologizing for the things that we need to stop apologizing for, which is the next list. Type for me, if you will, into the chat feature and tell me, what do we need to stop apologizing for? Where are the places in your world where you need to shut down the apology language? and stop saying I'm sorry needlessly. I, of course, have some ideas for you, but I don't want to just talk at you. So, have you all write in here first? Chris says, for our own feelings, you do not owe somebody an apology for having an emotion. It is not inappropriate. You don't owe somebody an apology for being yourself. You don't owe somebody an apology for taking up space that is rightfully yours. Things you have no control over are not a required apology space for you. When we say I'm sorry, but we really need to say excuse me instead, that's a huge difference. Taking up space or needing accommodations for your body, for your health, for your mind, for your call, you're allowed to exist. For asking questions, for knowing the answer to a question, for not knowing the answer to a question. When you enter a room, yes. Oh, Liz, that's so real. I never noticed how much I apologize until my daughter started copying me. That's powerful. You don't need to be sorry for being a strong, independent woman. Yes. 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 Retweet all of these things. I want us to stop diminishing our own power. When we say I'm sorry unnecessarily, it diminishes our power. And the world's been trying to do that for a long time. Like, we don't need to help them. We don't need to give them any more. We don't need to help the world try to silence us. So there are 3 places where I want you to catch yourself specifically. Okay, 3 things, 3 spaces I want you to try to check your apologies. Again, I want you to apologize where you see fit. If you think running into somebody is your fault, then I want you to apologize for that. I don't mean to be like, oh, Tina told me not to say sorry, so I'm just going to wheel my cart on down the aisle and not apologize. Please don't do that. Please do not be a dick and be like, well, Tina told me to, so sorry. That's the opposite of the point, especially since last week we talked about kindness. I want you to trust your gut, but there are 3 places where I want you to check yourself a little bit more frequently, okay? Number 1, asking a question. Asking a question. I want you to ask questions without feeling like you owe somebody an apology for doing that. If you are a college student, asking questions is like legitimately how you learn. You are paying for an education that is not cheap, by the way, and asking a question is you actively engaging in it in a meaningful way. And I'd like you to stop apologizing for that. You're not doing anything wrong. You are in fact helping other people who don't have the strength, the confidence, or the willingness to use their voice, because you're clarifying something that's probably confusing to other people too. So I want you to stop asking a question with an apology attached to it. I just want you to confidently ask a question because you deserve to be a part of your education. And if you're not a college student, then I certainly want you to keep asking questions without apologizing, because that means you're asking questions about how to make sure your family can operate, making sure you can do your job better. We don't, unless you are specifically asking the question to be a pain in the ass, then yeah, okay, maybe not. But I doubt very much that's why you're asking the question. So you don't owe somebody an apology for that. Ask questions boldly and bravely because it helps everybody else, and you're allowed to do it. Number 2, I want you to try to stop apologizing for saying no. This is a big one. No, I can't hang out. No, that idea is not going to work for me. No, in any sort of physical or sexual environment. You are allowed to say no. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to say, I can't make it tonight. And yes, sometimes saying no is complicated for other people. Yes, sometimes setting boundaries puts other people in a place that's uncomfortable for us. Sometimes saying no makes us feel like we're doing something wrong, but you are not doing something wrong. You are allowed to set boundaries. And I think in this world, we've been trying so hard to be like chill and cool and relaxed and easy that when we have to say no, or when we really truly feel like we need to say no, we feel badly about it because it's not relaxed, it's not easy. It's like we're just supposed to go with the flow and say yes to everything. But part of the reason we're so tired is because we've been saying yes to everything for a really long time. You are allowed to say no. Oh, my headphones are just falling out. You are allowed to say no in all possible contexts without apologizing for it. Your no doesn't require you to feel badly about it. And in fact, your no has the potential to be a little bit more powerful when we stop categorizing it as like I'm sorry I feel this way. You're just allowed to feel that way, which is true for all of your emotions, by the way. You're not crazy. Your emotions are valid and you don't need to apologize for them. Okay, number 3, in our specific COVID-19, coronavirus, the world's a pandemic and we have no idea what's going on world, I would like us to stop apologizing for that. I'd really love us to stop apologizing for the fact that this whole thing is insane and throwing us for a loop and making us feel all kinds of things and changing everything about the way we know how to live life. Y'all, normally when global crisis happens, we are allowed to look to our elders and say, what did you do last time this happened to you? But this hasn't happened like this before. We don't have wise sages who can give us the answers in this circumstance. This is brand new territory. And you are allowed to be overwhelmed. You are allowed to be scared. You are allowed to be a little bit behind. You are allowed to not be exercising or keeping as strict to your diet as you were before all of this started. You're allowed to be new to working from home. You are allowed to be new to having these conversations with your children about global crises and why we have to wash our hands every 4 seconds. Like, you don't owe anybody an apology for how you are dealing with this. Again, unless you're being a jerk, and then yes, apologize where necessary, but we are all trying our best. We are trying our very best, and it is hard and scary, and you don't owe somebody an apology for surviving, especially in a world where survival feels like a top priority right now. Just all we can do is our best. And if you are trying your hardest, that's what matters. So those are the areas where I would like you to think about apologizing. Just think critically about it before the word comes out of your mouth. A couple other tips that are helpful. People have already posted these in here, but they're totally helpful. Instead of apologizing for being late, thank people for their patience. I do this in emails a lot because sometimes I'm behind and sometimes I didn't send that email within what apparently is now the acceptable 48-hour window to send an email reply. And I say, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Life happened. I'm sorry I'm late. But yes, instead, why don't I say thank you for being patient with me? It acknowledges that they waited for you without you apologizing for your life happening to you. So thanking people is really helpful. I've been trying really hard to say excuse me instead of saying sorry when I'm bumping into people or like maneuvering a busy place. Excuse me is you saying I'm right here and I need a little bit of space. It's also polite. And so for those of us that feel like I'm a Midwestern kid, folks, politeness is my love language. Manners matter. But saying I'm sorry aren't manners. Saying I'm sorry isn't that. Excuse me works just as well. It is just as polite, just as kind, and still lets people know that you need a little bit of space without you apologizing for it. There's also, and a lot of you have posted the Pantene Pro V Sorry Not Sorry commercial, which is so dope. Watch that. There's also a Google, if you use Gmail, there's a, I don't even know what you call it. There's a thing, technical terms, you can download that will attach to your email and it will underline your I'm sorry's. It will point out all of your diminishing language that you use in an email. So if you search Gmail apology language, you should be able to find it. It'll pop right up and you can like download this thing to your email account and it will help you identify when you use this language in writing. Extension. Thank you, Kara. So yes, so that is another tool that can be helpful. You are worth more than an apology. You are worthy of more than an apology. Your existence matters. And when we say I'm sorry over and over again for little things, it starts to chip away at not little things, like who we are in the world. You don't owe anybody an apology for existing. You don't owe anybody an apology for taking up space, using your voice. because your existence is not an inconvenience. Your existence is not an inconvenience. You are worthy of so much more than an apology. And I think when we catch ourselves saying them in small little ways, it shifts the way we think about ourselves in our brain. I think it helps us remember that we are worthy of more than just saying I'm sorry every day, that we are not an inconvenience. So that's how I hope you feel right now. I hope you feel like your existence is more meaningful than an inconvenience. That's really what I care about. You're important, and I want you to take up space and use your voice like you are important. That's why I think women should apologize less. And I hope that was helpful. I hope that it was helpful and made us think and made us feel a little less crazy for all the sorries we extend, but also made us consider how we can shape some of our language moving forward. So that is what I have planned for you, but this is the coolest part of Facebook Live. Now you get to ask questions. So I don't know if you have any questions, but if you do, I want to answer them. About apologizing, of course, yes, but also about life in general. We can always talk about the craziness of the world around us right now. I'm happy to answer questions about anything at all. That is the purpose of this. So just plug in. That is the word I was thinking of. Just not sorry, Google plugin. Yes, yes, yes. So what questions can I answer for you, friends? What are some of the things that you're thinking about, worried about? What did this unlock for you in your brain? What questions can I answer for you? Ooh, Liz, crushing it. So she just thanked somebody for being patient instead of apologizing. I literally snap like this in my house all of the time. Like James found extra soap under the sink and I was like, what has sorority done to me? What has happened? What is going on in the world? What questions do you have, friends? I'm scrolling. Oh my God, coughing in public. Leanne posted this. I find myself apologizing when I have to cough in public now. That is so real. Like sneezing and Target being like, I'm not sick. Just allergies. It's just March in Minnesota. I feel like I have to explain myself because people are afraid to get sick. That is no joke. That is no joke. Okay, Carly, well, we're going to come back to your question because I think it's important. Tips for an alternate responses for a toddler. That's a really great question that I am not at all qualified to answer because I'm not a parent. And unless talking to Sherry, my dog, counts the same way, which I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I'm not entirely sure. But I do know, and a lot of my research about the way that we build relationships, the way that we build relationships with ourselves is based on our relationship that we have with our mom and our mom's relationship with herself, right? Like I watched my mom talk crap about her own body, and that's where I realized where my body stuff was coming from, right? So all the research says that the way that you model in life is going to be more powerful and more formative for your children than what you teach, right? This whole practice what you preach thing, this do as I say, not as I do, doesn't actually work. That's not the way little children learn. They observe what you do and they follow it. So for our children, I don't know, Liz, if you're asking about when they apologize and we're trying to get them to not. Toddlers are challenging because I think we want them to say sorry. Like we want these little kids to learn those skills, to say sorry when it's the right time to say I'm sorry. I just think that excuse me thing is really powerful, right? Just like making sure they know that when they bump into somebody or need a little bit more space, they can say excuse me instead of saying sorry. I also think the boundaries thing with little children is really important and meaningful. If you don't want to hug, you don't have to apologize to someone for that, right? You just say, I don't want to hug right now, and that's okay. And so I think giving them the power and the tools and the voice to to apologize a little bit less could be helpful. Again, as a completely underqualified human to answer that question. Hopefully it was a little bit helpful. But I also think if there are other moms or aunts or caregivers in any way, shape, or form in here, you should chat some answers that you think matter in the world, because that's a really great question. Random question, Alexis asked, what has been your favorite, it says hobbit, during your week of quarantine? I'm assuming you mean hobby, but if it's hobbit, then we can talk about Frodo all day. That's not a problem, although I'm a Sam person myself. My favorite hobby during quarantine, I'm not joking around about these walks that we've taken. They've like genuinely shifted the way my brain exists in the world. And I have needed them. So that has been really helpful. I've also discovered, or I suppose rediscovered, puzzles in my quarantine. Although my friend sent me a message the other day about how puzzles are so stupid because you literally make a mess, organize the mess, and then destroy the organization of the mess, which is hilarious. But I found puzzles to be very peaceful and sort of give me something to do, but I don't have to actively use my brain. So I've really enjoyed that. And cooking. For me, I don't get to cook a lot of things because I spend most of my time out on the road in a previous life, at least. So eating at restaurants and in hotels and airports. And so being able to cook 3 meals a day in my kitchen has been really lovely for me. Turns out I'm good at it. So that's a cool thing to learn. And it's just been really fun. So thanks for asking, Alexis. Emily would like to apologize for not having a question. I appreciate and respect you so much. Julie, coming in with the clutch question. Do love languages play into apologizing? Yes and no. Of course they do, because the way that you like to be loved sometimes requires forgiveness. But the brilliant people that came up with the 5 love languages that we talked about last week have also written apology languages. So there are 5 different ways that people like to be apologized to that help them get to forgiveness, and like to apologize. Wait, did I say that right? The way they like to give and receive apologies are now apology languages. So it's a whole other quiz that you can take. And it's actually really helpful and illuminating, right? Like I have learned that for me, what I need you to do is say the words, I'm sorry. Like that phrase is really powerful to me. And when you say it and you mean it with honesty, then my brain is like, box checked, cool, thank you, I can forgive you, we can move on. Some people need more lengthy apologies with explanation. Some people need there to be gifts associated or some sort of gesture that proves like the next step of retribution. So everybody's brain apologizes differently. And this quiz helps clarify how you like to give and receive apologies. Highly recommended, totally worth your time. I think it really helps as people connect. Oh, and Samantha Evansino already said that. So that was, I didn't need to say that, but I'm glad we're on the same page for you. Oh, Lee's putting in some good books here. Apology language books. Oh, we're giving children advice. I love this. Layla, yes, this is so real. I started saying, like Layla wrote here, I didn't used to be an apologizer, but I found I had to start saying it in order to come across less aggressive in the workplace. Any tips? I hate when I do it, but getting labeled as the aggressive woman in the workplace is also so detrimental to your career. That is so real. Yes. Tina, calm down before you start yelling on Facebook Live for no reason. It's 100% true that for women in the workplace, the expectation is that you are kind and polite and palatable and easy to work with and not aggressive ever. That is true of all women. That is maybe especially true for women of color or women who identify in the LGBTQIA space, right? People with marginalized identities have to be seen as even more palatable and kind and easy to work with and relaxed. And so therefore, when we write emails, I know some of y'all do this, you write the email and then you go back in and add exclamation points or like take away, like you like tweak the language a little bit to make sure that it doesn't feel aggressive. But then you have to go through, if you're like me, and take out exclamation points because it just sounds like you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. This is going to be amazing. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Like, girl, chill. So we do that because we don't want to be seen as aggressive or flighty or to any one thing. And it is a very real thing that if we don't do that, if we don't work on being palatable, especially if we work in male-dominated industries or with men or other humans who do see us as less than, it can diminish some of our voice a little bit. So I think that Google plugin is really helpful, the Just Not Sorry Google plugin, because it just at least helps you identify the language. You still get to make the choice if you want to keep those apologies, those word choices in there or not. So it just allows you to identify them and make the right choice. When I see it pop up in my emails, it just makes me get creative about shifting language, right? So thanking somebody for their patience instead of apologizing, excuse me, but also providing solutions instead of apologies, I think makes a really big difference. I would also say that apologizing once, again, totally worth it. If you need to say I'm sorry one time, but when we say I'm sorry 17 times in the email, I think that takes it to a whole nother place. I also wonder if there's a way, and I've not figured out how to master this in my life, but to send the email and then to say at the bottom, I'm typing this really quickly, so I hope it's coming across the way I want it to. If you have questions or if you want to talk about tone, let me know. Because nobody can read tone in an email. And so making sure that you tell the other humans that you're acknowledging that this might be coming across as aggressive, brash, quick, whatever, but that you're happy to talk about tone might be helpful. That's why I do a lot of my stuff over the phone if possible, because it just, tone and email is so hard to read. But I mean, the other answer to your question that isn't always helpful is that I would just like us to get closer to living in a world where we don't have to worry about that so much. We're just not in that world yet. And so I think finding the balance for you of taking up space and not apologizing too much, but also doing what you do to make sure you don't get squashed at work matters. Thanks for asking that question, Leila. I really appreciate you. Layla, you're important. Ooh, Lexi, I love this question. Any suggestions for how to work on ourselves during quarantine? Yes, 100%. I didn't used to be a big reader, but I've been reading a lot on my break, but reading in little chunks. So like read like 10 pages or read a chapter and then writing about it has been really helpful. Because I think when we do a little bit of that self-work, it makes a really big difference. So I think reading is really important. I think reflection is really powerful. I think sometimes I feel either physical or emotional things change in my body, right? Like I feel my body get really tense, or I start to feel emotions bubbling up inside of me, and like I can feel it happen. And so I just had this conversation with my friend Laura this morning, that like acknowledging it and saying it out loud is really helpful, because it's helping me learn about myself. Like I feel very anxious right now. Where is that coming from? Oh, I just watched the news for 2 hours. Cool. So it just helps me identify some of my patterns and keep track of them a little bit differently. And then I can make some different choices the next day. So I think those are some small ways. Obviously, podcasts and audiobooks are a great way to continue to improve on ourselves. But I think reflection and journaling is powerful. I love all of this. Oh, thank you, Samantha. I'm really trying with this cooking thing. I'm having a lot of fun. Can you say the name of it again? Are we talking about the plugin? Because it's the Just Not Sorry Google plugin. Love that. You're helping each other. I love this. This is all amazing. You're helping each other. This is so dope. I love all of this. Okay, so thank you for coming. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want to talk about apologizing, I always want to talk about that stuff. So first of all, I did not do this last time. I don't have it in front of me. My email address, I will put in the chat. It is tina@tinarayvan.com. If you want to talk to me, if you want to be friends, you want to stay in touch, please email me. Let's talk and hang out. I do this a lot on Instagram. That's not AlphaGam sponsored, just like Tina Talking to the World. So you can follow me on Instagram too. I'm at Tina Ray Van. Last update for you, outside of you're important and the world is crazy and we care a lot about you, and I'm really glad that you're here, is that AlphaGam is typically, right, this is the time of year where we get into the days of giving. And this is obviously a really hard time to manage giving. So AlphaGam instead is doing tomorrow the day of caring. So if you are an AlphaGam, you'll get an email about this tomorrow morning. You'll also see it all over Instagram and Facebook, which is exactly where to go if you have more questions about it. But essentially, it's the day of giving, just with a little bit of a more COVID-19 intentional spin. So if you are in a place to give financially, of course, Alpha Gam would love for you to donate specifically to the SIS grant or the education grant. Everywhere in the foundation, any money that you donate to the foundation allows us to help more sisters in need. And there are plenty of sisters in need right now. So if you have treasures that you are able to donate, Alpha Gam would love to hear from you tomorrow during the Day of Caring. But treasures are also tight right now in our world. And so the Day of Caring also gives you an opportunity to make a pledge to expressing caring to our sisters in other ways. So maybe you're going to commit to texting 3 sisters who you haven't talked to in a few weeks just to check in on them. Maybe you're going to send 2 care packages. Maybe you're going to send 5 cards in the mail. Alpha Gam wants you to care about your sisters right now. And whether that be financially, emotionally, with your voice, it does not matter. Over social media, it doesn't matter. We need to be caring for each other right now, maybe more than ever. So you will get an email about this in the morning. You'll also see it all over the internet tomorrow, but please participate in Alpha Gam's Day of Caring, because I don't know if there's ever been a more important time for us to care for each other. So in that space, care for each other, care for yourselves, and come back and see us next week. We'll always continue to take more questions. I'm always happy to talk about things that aren't the topics that specifically we've chosen to discuss. So if you've got other things you want to chat about, we're here. But I care about you, and I'm grateful for you. So thanks for being here. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay inside, and wash your hands. And we love you. We care about you a lot. And hopefully we'll see you next week. I'll make tea next week. Bye, everybody. Oh my gosh, Alpha Gam, you just did the best. That's my email address, that's my Instagram. Find me, follow me, let's be friends. Bye, everybody.